right, let's get this going. Man, I'm fired up here today. Give a few people a chance to just hop on here, get loaded up, and then we'll get going. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. Super excited. Guys, welcome back to another Thursday night live seminar. Again, my name is Captain Mike, host of Florida Sport Fishing TV. I'm super stoked to have you guys joining us here. If you're watching it live tonight, or if you catch up down the line on our Instagram page or on YouTube, frankly, I don't care where you see it, as long as you watch it, and as long as you pick up some really good tips and tricks. Again, if you're just joining us here, real quick, wanted to remind everybody, every Thursday night, 7:30, right here at Florida Sport Fishing TV, a live seminar. We're covering a wide variety of topics. In recent weeks, we've talked about grouper fishing. We've talked about big bull dolphin. We've had circle hook seminars. We've taught you how to anchor and select the right anchor. So many different topics that we've covered. And you know what? There's so much more that we're going to go over as well. And really, all you got to do, you got to just pay attention, right? Just listen to what I'm telling you. I'm not telling you my way is the best way. I'm simply telling you my way works. Through years and years of trial and error, networking, all kinds of stuff, I'm going to help you shorten the learning curve. That's the bottom line. And if you're a seasoned vet, you know what? A refresher course never hurts anyway, right? So it doesn't take much. Each of these is only 20, 30 minutes. We've really kind of boiled them down to less than a half hour. And they all start with a real-time Florida Keys fishing report. And that's exactly what we're going to get into right now. It's first week of June. Big news, dolphin fishing's on fire. Nobody should be surprised there. I've been out recently myself. 650, 675, a lot of weed lines out there. Trolling is a surefire way to get these fish, to hook up with these fish. Rig ballyhoo, feathers, any sort of trolling lures that mimic small flying fish and things to that nature are gonna work. If you get up on these nice weed patches, it's a great opportunity to pull a boat right up there to the edge of the weed line, kill the motors, go into stealth mode, and start throwing some poppers or some twitch baits. Really puts a fun twist on catching these schoolies, because most of them are schoolies. You're gonna find a lot of these fish are in that 3 to 8 pound range. Not to say you're not going to find some bigger ones here and there, or a big bull pops up every now and then. Of course it's going to happen, but the vast majority of those fish are 3 to 8 pounds. So on light tackle spinners with poppers and twitch baits and swim baits, so many different options you can throw. It really just picks up that fishery a notch and makes it a whole lot of fun. Just that whole visual aspect. Watching them come in, chasing the baits, man, I'll tell you what. If that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what does. Further offshore, deep drop bite is solid. A lot of big gray tile fish around. I've got to stress that big ones, man. Not these little 2 to 4 pound dinkies. I'm talking super slop gray tiles. Fish approaching 10 pounds, if not even more. Some really, really big gray tile fish around. Tarpon at the bridges, that's still on fire, super reliable. Want to catch a tarpon, now is the time to do it. Get down here to the Keys and, charter a local boat, bring your own boat, whatever you do, but the tarpon bite is on right now at the bridges, okay? On the reef, big yellowtails this last week. A nice showing, good solid showing. Big flags, oversized yellowtail snapper all up and down the reef line or across the reef line, east and west, however you want to look at it. But the big news, and what I'm real excited to tell you about, is the mutton fishery. The mutton snapper fishery, man, I'll tell you what, over this last week is just blown wide open. All right, guys are going out there catching double-digit muttons in the double-digit range. So we're not talking these little small fish in that 30-foot range or anything like that. We're talking about fishing deeper water, the wrecks primarily, anywhere from 150 to 250. You're generally fishing a nice live bait, a ballyhoo, a goggle eye, a pinfish, of course, something to that nature, a big pilchard, a lot of different options. A crab, don't discount a crab as a killer mutton bait. Drop them to the bottom, crank it up a few cranks off the bottom, long leaders, 50 foot or so, 40-pound diamond presentation fluorocarbon, and just wait for that, that slam and bite. So a lot of big mutton snappers around. And like I said, they get me fired up. So I'm super excited about that fishery in particular. So without further ado, let's get right into our topic of conversation tonight. I want to tell you straight up how to do this. I want to refresh your mind if you need a little refresher course. And again, there's a lot of ways to catch the yellowfin tuna, because again, that's what we're talking about. Crossing to the Bahamas and getting in on the yellowfin tuna fishery. It's June. The bite is on fire right now. Listen, the fish are there. I'm not asking you or telling you to go look for them, or, I don't know if they're going to be there or not going to be there. I promise you, they are there right now. They're there waiting for you. All you got to do is load up, get your buddies, get the gear, get the gas, and go. Okay, it's really that simple. But you've got to do it right if you want to score these tunas, because there's a real fine line between going over there, chasing the yellowfin, catching zilch, okay, zero, skunked, and coming home with a boatload of tuna. So you've got to do it right. And I'm going to walk you through it step by step. There's not a lot to it, but I'm telling you, I can't stress how important every little detail is. But most importantly is that they're there right now, okay? And again, I can't stress that enough. These yellowfin tunas are going to be there throughout all of June into July. Fish have been caught since March, really. It's certainly well into April. And they'll be caught for another couple of months. So it's a big run. It lasts a long time. There's a lot of yellowfins there. And I'll tell you what, if you've never done this, man, it is an awesome fishery. Awesome fishery. Forget the prize at the end of the line, coming home with 40 to 80 pound yellowfins, some bigger, some smaller, but that's the average at 40 to 80 pound range. Okay, and you're talking about primo right there. But just the excitement level and fighting these yellowfins and hooking them, and the bycatch, because along with the yellowfins, you're going to catch skipjack tuna, you're going to catch blackfin tuna till your arms fall off, and you're going to catch big dolphin mixed in with them as well. And it's not, too far-fetched that a billfish pops into the mix every now and then also. But this is a tuna fishery, and that's what we're talking about tonight. So first things first, obviously you've got to prep the boat. You're crossing over to the Bahamas. We're really talking about either Bimini or West End, okay? But keep in mind all of these tactics and everything that we're telling you about how to catch these yellowfins certainly is applicable throughout all of the Bahamas. But I would say 95 to 98% of the crews that are running over there are going to West End, going to West End, maybe going to Bimini, and everybody, for the most part, is fishing up in the channel, the Northwest Providence Channel. That's a big body of water that separates where Bimini is and north of that Grand Bahama Island where West End is. It's a big body of water right there. And let me tell you, it gets deep. It gets thousands of feet deep in there. There's really deep trenches and canyons, and there's so much forage in there, and that's what attracts the yellowfin tuna. Okay, so again, they're there, they're feeding, and they're waiting for you to go over there and load up. So you've got your boat, plenty of fuel, and I recommend plenty of fuel because generally the fuel over in the Bahamas is about $6 to $7 a gallon. Sometimes it has water in it, sometimes you may not even be able to get it if it's limited. So it's always a good idea to load your center console or whatever you're running over there in, get as much fuel as you can over here in the hopes that you don't have to fuel up over there at all. Guys can do this and are doing this on day trips where they just run over, fish all day, they check in the morning, hopefully fish all day, run home at night. You certainly can do that, or of course you can overnight it at popular destinations like Blue Marlin Cove. That's a favorite, okay, and that's really right at the front doorstep of the fishery. It's one of my favorite places to stay in all of the Bahamas. Again, that's Blue Marlin Cove. And again, it's centrally located, so it's just a prime location. Either way, you've got plenty of fuel, you've got plenty of ice. Okay, you're gonna need ice because again, that's a hot commodity that sometimes you just can't get in the islands. So don't think you're gonna run over there and hey, let me load up on 200, 300, 400 pounds of ice. You may be, out of luck. Okay, so bring a lot of ice. Tackle, pretty straightforward. Okay, this is really straightforward. Certainly you can go over to the Bahamas and fish for a variety of species, deep dropping, reef fishing, and I encourage you to mix it all up, but that's not what we're talking about here tonight. We're talking about that yellowfin tuna fishery, and really it boils down to 50-pound class stand-up outfits, okay? Typical outfit right here, this is it. It's a Daiwa Saltiga 2-speed size, LD60 is the actual size of this reel. Very compact, 2-speed, incredibly light, okay, easy and comfortable to hold under the arm, plenty of line capacity, loaded with 50-pound diamond line. Listen, you can load your reel with braid, you can load your reel with monofilament. It's completely up to you, both will work. However, the top minimum, we'll say 100 feet at a bare minimum, if not more, needs to be either monofilament or fluorocarbon. These fish are incredibly line shy, especially in that crystal clear water. You can't risk them seeing a high vis line or, you know, a braid, anything like that. So you've got to have a top shot of monofilament or fluorocarbon, something nearly as, you know, as invisible as possible. Even if you do monofilament, make sure your last 20 feet or so is fluoro. They have incredible eyesight, as I mentioned, and you don't want them to see any of that terminal tackle. From there, you obviously need some hooks, and it's real simple. Don't make the mistake of thinking you need a giant hook to catch a 40, 50, 60, 100-pound yellowfin tuna. You don't, on the contrary. There it is, right there. Look how tiny that hook is. It's a VMC inline tournament circle hook, number 8386, okay? 3/0 size, real small, easy to hide, hard for that fish to see, but it's a 3X hook. You're not even budging that baby right there. Give it everything you got. You're not even budging it. It's not going to twist. It's not going to move. It's not going to break. Okay, today's VMC hooks are stronger, thinner than they've ever been before. But don't fish with a 1X hook because a big yellowfin will straighten that out. 3X hook is vital. Okay, I tied that hook right to the end of my leader with a small loop knot. That's it. There's no additional swivels. There's no garbage on there. There's no lights and this and that. Forget all of that. I'm trying to keep my presentation as absolutely stealthy as possible. So you should have, of course, a set of these depending on how many guys are on the boat. Let's just say four outfits rigged and ready to go. And you can listen, you can mix it up. Of course, you can catch these tunas on poppers. You can jig them. You can do all of that after you get them all fired up and they're eating, you know, out of your fingertips next to the boat. If, you know, you can make that happen and it all comes together, that certainly can take the fishery to another level. But initially, to put those first few fish in the boat, nothing beats the meat. That's the bottom line, okay? Nothing beats that bait. So, of course, we're always rigged for that first. And then once you catch enough, or, you know, you want to switch it up, or you have enough people on a boat where somebody wants to do something different, then by all means, throw in a spinner, a Stella, or a Daiwa dogfight, something with a killer drag. You know, again, 50-pound braid on there is plenty with a top shot. Throw some plugs, throw whatever you want to throw. Jig them on slow pitch, I don't care. But again, that's after the fact, okay? So we're loaded up on the tackle. We've got the fuel, we've got the ice, all the safety gear. I don't need to tell you about that, and anything else that you might need to run over to the Bahamas and either overnight it or even fish a single day trip, okay? Bait, let's talk about that next, because that's the next most important thing. You know, there was a time where everybody believed you have to run over to the Bahamas with all of your bait wells blacked out with pilchards. Not hundreds, forget it, thousands of pilchards in order to load up on the yellowfins. And you know what? That's great. That's true. If you run over there and you've got thousands of small little baits, little chummers, little white baits or pilchards on the boat that you can throw, you certainly are leaning the odds in your favor. There's no question. I mean, come on, you've got a ton of live bait. Okay, so of course that's going to lean the odds in your favor, but it is absolutely not a necessity. And for the guys that can't afford to purchase those baits, don't have the time to catch those baits, don't have the resources to travel with that many live baits and maintain that many live baits, then don't even try it. You know, if you don't have the right gear, then don't do it. Instead, just go with chunks. Go with slabs of bait that you can chunk up. But make sure you've got a lot of them. Don't go over to the Bahamas and go tuna fishing with two slabs of bait. Okay, no. All right, everybody chip in, go to the tackle shop, get 8 to 10 slabs at a minimum. That's right, 8 to 10 slabs at a minimum. Don't chunk them all in advance, but make sure you've got a couple of 5-gallon buckets cut and ready to toss before you head out fishing. And then as the trip progresses, you could always cut more along the way, have a designated chunker, whatever it is that you do. There are little devices that make cutting frozen slabs much easier, where you can slice the entire slab. A lot of different options. Like I said, you don't have to chunk 10 slabs of bait before you ever even leave the dock. You just don't know what's going to happen. But again, make sure that you go out there well prepared, plenty of bait, keep the bait frozen, packed in ice, okay, in your cooler, in your frigid rigid coolers, in your fish boxes. Last thing you want to do, especially if you're going over for multiple days, is have your bait get all soft and mushy and smelly and nasty. Nobody likes that, okay? Nobody. You really want to be able to pull out frozen slabs, okay, and work with frozen slabs even if it's 2 or 3 days into your trip. It's easy to do that with today's Super Center consoles. I can tell you my CB, I've had easily 10 slabs in the forward fish box all packed in ice, and it was just a giant ball of ice the entire trip. They were chipping away at it. So, you know, again, make sure you put in the time to take care of that bait and that you're well prepared. So we've run over, we're ready, we've got our crew, you know, we've decided we're going, I don't know, we're going today, we're going this weekend, I don't care when you go, just go. And you've checked in and it's now time to fish, okay? Chances are you're at West End on the north side of the channel, or you could be in Bimini way on the southern end of the channel and have to travel up to the channel. I prefer West End. It really makes your life much easier. At that point, you're going to leave the dock as early as possible, first light, okay? Start heading south if you're in West End and you're headed into the channel. You want to get into where all those deep canyons are off of Lucaya and Freeport. It's all easily, you know, accessible on chart plotters, paper charts. Do you guys even know what a paper chart is any longer? But certainly your machines, your charts on your machines are going to reveal all of those little nooks and crannies that potentially will hold all of that forage. It'll create all of those upwellings and attract the tuna. Okay, and again, they're there. They're there right now. So you're headed out, you're headed into that deep water. First and foremost, and probably the most important tool that you can have on your boat is a good radar. High quality radar. My Furuno NXT, I'll tell you what, can pick off in bird mode, right? Bird mode, right from the factory. I just push a button, bird mode. And I could see 2 birds, literally just 2 little birds frolicking around at 3 to 5 miles away. A whole pack of birds, forget it. I could spot them even further. So learn how to read your radar and learn how to spot birds. Don't worry about trying to find birds 10 miles away from you. You're not going to see them with the curvature of the horizon. Look for birds in that 2 to 4 mile range, okay? Because you can't see with the naked eye 2 to 4 miles. So in turn, at least it'll give you a much larger field of vision, okay, to be able to look for the birds on the machine. The birds are going to indicate where the yellowfin tuna are. Don't run around looking for yellowfin tuna. Run around looking for birds. I can't make it any clearer, so that means you want to use any tool that you can to help you find those birds. The radar, of course, is tool number 1. Tool number 2, quality binoculars, Fujinon stabilized binoculars. These help me spot a single frigate or some tuna chicks or gulls or whatever way out in the distance, even if the boat's rocking and moving at a high rate of speed. So I can't stress enough, you know, how important that good stabilized binoculars are. Are they expensive? They're expensive, $1,400 for this pair, the Fujinon 14x40s. But you know what, how much fuel are you burning? At $4 to $5 a gallon right now. You're 80 miles away if you're leaving from, you know, wherever, maybe 100 miles away. You're burning a lot of fuel. You don't think that a $1,400 investment for Father's Day or a birthday or a holiday, whatever, is going to pay for itself over time? You're damn right it is. So it's another really important tool. But it's more important that someone's using the binoculars. If they're in a hole, they're in a drawer, they're useless, right? Make sure that you're constantly using them. You're scanning the horizon. You're looking for the birds. I can't stress this enough. The birds will lead the way to the yellowfin tuna. I've caught them as close as 8 to 10 miles outside the ports, and sometimes you've got to travel 20 to 30 miles, deep into the channel. Every day is different. Some days, the first flock of birds that you find is going to pay off, and you're going to put a boatload of yellowfins in the boat. On other days, the 10th pot of birds that you find is going to pay off. So every single day is different, and there's no one rule. But the one consistency is the birds will lead the way to the yellowfin tuna. Not a particular depth, not readings on your machine, and you'll read them once you get on top of them. But like I said, we're all looking for birds. That's the bottom line. Once you spot them, either visually, birds working with the binoculars, or on the radar, boom, there they are. There's a little fuzzball. There's a little birds. They're 4 miles away. I'm headed in that direction. As they close that gap, I'm now looking in the binoculars. I'm really zeroing in on the activity that's going on. I'm hoping that there's small birds that are close to the water picking. They're working. There's tunas feeding below them. At that point, pull back the throttles as you approach the commotion. Don't make the foolish Guggen mistake of running right through the pack of birds at 50 miles an hour because you're so excited. You'll put the fish down and that'll be the end of it. So slow it down, approach the birds cautiously, and pay attention to what direction they're moving in. Okay, spend a second. Are the birds moving to the east, to the north, to the south, whatever it is, and try and intercept their path of travel. Now what we do is, the boat is in trolling speed. We'll put out a couple of baits behind the boat. We'll troll a couple of baits. Small baits. Don't be thinking big green machines. Don't be thinking giant wahoo lures, marlin lures. No. The yellowfin tunas, the blackfin tunas, but again, even the yellowfins, they feed on small little bait fish out there. And you want something really small, something that mimics a small squid or a small bait fish. Something like a ballyhood tuna taco you can see right there. I'm going to show you a few different variations of effective lures. Again, ballyhood tuna taco. Here's another ballyhood tuna hoochie. Little feathers, little skirt on there. This is from a different manufacturer, Black Bart, but you get the idea. And they're all relatively the same. They're small, they're easy to fish. And by the way, question there, these are Dubrow lure and leader keepers. Makes it really, really easy to put a lure on here. You wrap the leader right around the spool. It's got a little stopper. This fits into a holder that's both, permanently mountable or portable. Really makes maintaining and storing your trolling lures and your rigs an absolute breeze. And I'll tell you what, I absolutely love them. I don't know if you can see, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of them back there. I use these religiously. Anyhow, so we put 2 behind the boat. That's all we're doing. We're not setting a full spread. We're not trying to hook up on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just get on this bite. I'm pulling 2 lures. Got the boat in gear. I'm trolling. I'm intercepting that path of travel in the direction those fish are moving in the hopes that as I get around that pot, around those birds, one of the rods starts singing. One of the rods starts singing, immediately we start chunking. Okay, immediately start throwing chunks. Or if you have live bait, start throwing live bait. Okay, but if you don't, then of course you're throwing chunks. You've slowed the boat down now, you're fighting that fish. Immediately, whoever's not fighting the fish, obviously, is going to grab the bait rods that are already rigged and ready to go. Going to take that small little 3/0 hook, embed it in a chunk. You don't have to hide the entire hook in the chunk. I mean, obviously, you do want to try and conceal it, but hopefully these fish are in a frenzy. They'll eat it anyway. It's not a giant hook. If it's a live bait right through the nostrils, it's not going to last very long. Or, by the anal fin, oftentimes that'll make the bait swim deeper into the water column where the bigger yellowfins are generally feeding underneath the smaller blackfins and skipjacks. Okay, but either way, I'm sliding to a stop. I'm reeling, if somebody's in a stern, reeling in a fish that they've hooked on one of the trolling lures. Could be a dolphin, blackfin, skipjack, could be a small yellowfin, could be a big yellowfin. Okay, you never know what you're going to hook on that bait, but obviously you've intercepted them. The life is there. We're chunking. The boat comes to a stop. We're starting to feed out our baits with the chunks. Easiest way to do this. Certainly you can hold a rod under your arm. You can feed it out. Okay, there's an easier way. Put the rod in the rod holder. Put the clicker on. Okay, slowly feed it out with your hand. Just feed it out, feed it out, feed it out. You don't want that chunk or that live bait to stop. It'll spin, the chunk will just come higher up in the water column. It'll look very unnatural. Chances are the yellowfins won't touch it. The other stuff, the more aggressive blackfins, skippies, they'll jump on it all day long. But it's the bigger yellowfin tuna that we're after. So we're feeding that out, hand over hand over hand. Yellowfin picks up the chunk or the live bait starts running with it. All you've got to do is just slowly push that lever forward on your lever drag reel. You don't have to pull back and set the hook. We talked about this last week in our circle hook seminar. Just push up that lever on the reel, Fish will be swimming in the opposite direction. The circle hook will do its job and catch them right in the corner of the mouth. And you now, my friend, are hooked up to what hopefully is a beautiful 40 to 80 pound yellowfin tuna. Some even larger, don't be surprised. Now at this stage, we've got to talk about fish fighting skills, right? Because these tunas will beat you up. You know, the big yellowfins, man, they'll just clean your clock if you're not up for the task. So slow it down, you know, make sure you're in the right fish fighting position. Potentially you may need a belt. You may need, you know, a cushion on the butt section of your rod, whatever it is that you need. Don't be embarrassed. Use it and start cranking, because remember now you're fighting the clock, and you're fighting, I guess the best way to say it is paying your taxes. Because the one thing that there's mixed in with the yellowfin tunas over in the Bahamas are, come on, let me hear you say it, sharks. And let me tell you, they are relentless, okay? And it is not uncommon on days to hook 10 yellowfins and lose 8 or more to sharks. And nothing could be more frustrated than running all the way across the Gulf Stream to the Bahamas, spending, forget hundreds, thousands between bait, fuel, lodging, everything involved, checking in, fishing licenses, etc., okay? And hooking these great fish. You did everything right, and they're just getting eaten by sharks, okay? It's gonna happen to you, I promise. If it hasn't already happened to you, it's because you haven't been yellowfin fishing in the Bahamas, okay? But when you go, it will happen to you. So you cannot fight these fish on 20 or 30 pound gear, even though it sounds exciting and fun, and I wanna fish, you know, catch these fish on light tackle. This isn't the place, Jack. Okay, it's time to beef it up. Obviously, you don't want to go too heavy. You don't need 80, 100 pound gear. We're not fighting giant bluefins. Okay, but that 50 pound class tackle seems to be the perfect balance of fun, sport, and success, because the goal is to get them to the boat as quickly as possible before the sharks eat them. Multiple hookups are very, very common. Keep the fish interested. You're continuing to throw live bait. You're continuing to throw chunks. And catching or hooking multiple fish, like I said, is absolutely common. Now, that whole process may sound easy. You put the lures out, maybe you hook something smaller, a blackfin, a juvenile yellowfin, a dolphin, and you put all of this into action, okay? But no bites on the chunks, okay? That's because the fish have moved on. They are in feeding mode, and it's hard to get a big pack of yellowfin tuna to sit still. Okay, they are on a mission, and they will not hang around for very long unless there's plenty of food for them to eat. One single yellowfin can easily devour 100 chunks. So just think about that. If there's a whole feeding pack of them, and if you're not literally, feeding them, they will just, they're gone. They're gone. They're moving along. On other occasions, you'll get them, and you'll get them real interested, and they're around the boat, and you can just beat on them until you catch your limit. By the way, that limit is 18 pelagics in the boat, okay? Nevertheless, sometimes that first patch comes together like magic, like textbook. Everything I just talked about works out perfectly. On other times, it's the 10th, okay? The 10th pod when it actually all comes together. But that's the whole cup of tea. Right there, they'll bite in the middle, they'll bite in the morning, that first, you know, up to, I don't know, we'll say 10 a.m. is prime till 10, 11. Then you tend to have a lull between 11 and 4-ish. And then that evening bite is also on fire. Great opportunity, middle of the day, to switch it up, go deep dropping, do something else, come fish shallower for muttons or fish the reef, come back to the resort, jump in the pool, have a margarita, do whatever it is that you do. Okay, and then get ready to go back out as that sun is setting. It is not uncommon to leave the marina literally at 6 o'clock and only have an hour or two of light to fish in the evening. But that's a magic time right there. That's magic hours during those low light conditions. We all know tuna don't like that bright light, low light. They come up toward the surface, they're feeding like crazy. Now that doesn't mean that middle of the day you can't score, because you can get on that lucky pot of birds at 2 in the afternoon under a blistering sun. Not likely, but certainly possible. So that's up to you to decide if you want to sit out there and just continue to pound and look for all those birds until it all comes together, or invest time in the morning or in the evening, or both. But we just talked about the whole process. Now when that fish approaches the boat, gaffing that fish is obviously also important. Marina gaff right in the head. Okay, you want to go for a head shot. but go for any shot because it may be the only shot that you get. So, you know, I'm going to leave that to you. Be prepared to, you know, when you do stick that fish, it's not as easy as up and over the rail. A 40, 50, 60, 70 pound yellowfin is a very, very strong fish, very determined, and especially if you happen to sink that gaff anywhere in that back half of that fish's body, man, he's going to do everything he can to pull the gaff and pull you with the gaff right over the side. So hold on for dear life, baby. Once you get him in the boat, bleed that fish, make sure he's on ice, cool him down, keep that fish in prime condition until you get home, okay? But again, that's the whole process. Everybody's got little variations. Everybody may have a preference. Mine is the diamond presentation 40-pound fluorocarbon, the tournament circle hooks in the 3.0 size, the 3X hooks. They're super strong, super small. I've talked to you about some of the tools that we use to find these fish and to get on the fish. That's all there is to it. Absolutely, you can build on that with the spinning rods, with poppers. You can build on that by dropping some jigs down. But if you really want to put that meat in the boat, there's nothing that beats chunking